Now before I get stuck into the stats and specs of this watch, I just want to give you some context as to what this watch is all about. Baltany watches, the types of watch they offer, military style, watches that are no longer in production, watches with a lot of history behind them, and that inspires what they decide to release present day for often considerably under £200. And that is what we're looking at here, is affordable vintage style watches, great specifications, which I'll go to in a minute, and that is what you got here, Dirty Dozen. That's what this watch is inspired by, a Dirty Dozen watch. I'll discuss the unique little differences between this and what the original watches were like. They were a lot smaller, they had acrylic crystal, they did have hand-wound movement, etc., which this does, by the way, but we're going to that again in a bit. But the big thing is the fact that this is something you can buy today for £165. Less than £200 is very affordable for many people. You want to get the best for your money. Where does this fit? Let's get on with the specs. I've weighed this on my trusty friend Gipas. 94 grams is the weight. Reasonably heavy, probably because of this CUS N8 bronze case. That's code name for basically bronze. And it's got a screw down titanium case back. The crown is a nice chunky 6.5mm. The length of the watch is 51.2. Then you've got 12.8 height, including this slightly domed crystal, which is benefiting from a very nice bit of clear AR coating on the underside. So that really helps with the legibility, as you can see there. And because it's double dome, there's no distortion. Lug width here for strap changes is 20mm, and we've got 50 meters of water resistance with a push-pull crown. Movement inside is a hand-wound Chinese seagull movement, the ST3620. Manual wind only, and it's got a lovely easy smooth winding action. Just wind the crown up. It takes about 60 turns to fully wind it. It lasts a couple of days. It's got reasonable accuracy before they even regulate it. This has been regulated. I put this on my time grapher and it's running at just over +4, +5 a day. Loads of different positions. It's bedded in, so a well regulated timepiece. And the good thing is these movements are very reliable, and as you've heard from me just now, they're pretty accurate too. That's a general gist of the specification, which includes a very chunky 4mm thick leather strap with very neat stitching, very in keeping with this military style look, very rugged, excellent quality strap for this kind of price point. And matching the case, you've got a bronze bit of hardware on there, on the buckle. Now, as you can see, there's nothing wrong with this watch. If you look closely, look at the bronze, what's been going on here. I've not done anything to exaggerate the patinaing of this watch at all. It's not even a word, is it? Patinaing? It is now. When a watch is new and it's made of bronze, it's a lot brighter colour than this. I'll give you an idea of another bronze watch, which there is a review of coming. This is a newer bronze watch made by Baltany. So this is a lot newer, it's probably a month newer, but compare it to this watch. Look how it's oxidizing and patinaing compared to a newer bronze watch. That's the lovely benefit you're going to get with this watch being made of bronze. You get something which ages and really definitely adds to that lovely vintagey vibe. And they didn't make watches of bronze back in the olden days. I can call them that, times of the war. They were made of steel or even brass, and they were chrome plated. Having it in a sort of this bare, very organic feeling metal that evolves and changes over time is a unique modern twist, believe it or not, on a vintage watch. Yet it makes it feel older. That's just a clever little twist there. They've used Swiss retro super luminova on here on the hands and the indices here, the Arabics that come around here, even on the subdial and the little hand there. So it's got excellent lume. You see lume shots, etc. coming up. Holds its charge reasonably well. It's not breathtaking, but for a good value watch, it holds up extremely well. My wrist, which is, as I said before, pretty much average. I go halfway up the little holes in the strap, so it's going to fit most people reasonably comfortably. Two keepers here. It's quite stiff, this strap, so it does end up getting a bit more flexible over time, as leather does. It goes more supple. Feels like a really nice, good quality strap. And if you have a sniff, it's a really nice quality of leather. And as we're up close, you can see here the quality of the grain is decent. It's not all pitted and porous like a lot of cheaper straps can be. You get the exposed grain on the side here, which again adds to the vintage aesthetic. Very comfortable, suits the watch very nicely. As you can see, on my average wrist, fits me beautifully. Really nice weight. Under 100 grams means it's not going to feel top heavy or too heavy on the wrist in general. It's got a titanium case back, so it's good if you've got allergies or anything like that. But I just hope you haven't got an allergy to bronze. Other than that, it's very nice and comfortable. Now, so this isn't just an obvious glowing review and it sounding like it's a heavily sponsored video. There's obviously going to be some criticisms. Nothing too glaring, but the first thing I'm going to say to you is be wary of buying a bronze watch. If you're hot and sweaty, and you're wearing this watch, you will get little sweaty marks where the bronze touches your skin. You can get often just little tiny bits of green coming off onto your skin. Strap choices are actually going to be limited. If you want the buckle and the hardware of your strap to match the watch, i.e. bronze, you're a bit more limited. There is not the choice available. You could always swap this out to another strap. You've got to make sure it's a dead straight 20mm strap to accommodate your 20mm width here of the buckle, and be a big part here to allow fit in these large square slotted holes. You might end up just going, well, I'll slap it on a NATO, but then you've got to bear in mind that the hardware on most NATOs is either stainless or you could get it in black. Black would work on this watch because it will work with the dial, etc. But again, it's just going to be a bit tricky to get this to work. Going back to this being, like I said before, dead straight, I don't like the fact it's dead straight. It'd be nice if it had a bit of a taper. It'd be nice if they gave this with a second strap option so you didn't have that worry. So if you go, well, I don't really fancy it on the leather, quick release pins would be nice, then you could pop it on something else. Just some more options. A NATO would be a little bit more in tradition, canvas strap, for example, to give it back again that military vibe. Olive green would look awesome, really complement the earthy tones you get with the bronze. That's just examples of what I think would work with this, but it must have bronze hardware. The loom, it's not breathtaking, but it's acceptable for this price. World War I and World War II, I don't think their loom was very good anyway. Having a watch with loom, with this look, is always a bonus. So the colour of the loom in the hands, as you can see here, is old-fashioned, old radium style, but then the colour of the Arabics is very white. So there's a contrast which is good for legibility, but aesthetically I just think it looks a little bit off. But you do have the old radium style markers here running around this track. That's good. Really adds some balance to the look of the watch with the aesthetics of the loom, etc. And legibility is incredible. I love the matte dial. Would have been nice maybe if it was a tad smaller, but then you can't go any smaller because of that movement. Talking about the movement impacting the size of the watch, I wish they could make this thinner. It's a manual winder, and look how thick that thing is. It's as thick as a dive watch. And I don't want my field watch, which I want to tuck under my cuff very neatly, like my CWC G10 does. This just has a manual wind movement. No rotor in there. Why is it so thick? But to wrap things up a little bit more now on the positives, it really does have a lot more in its favour, and that's the fact. The price is good. Manual wind movement is nice and reliable. Nice feel with the winder. Big crown. Easy to wind. I forgive it for its lack of branding because I'd say it is a field watch. Baltany is all it's got, but it would have been nice if it did actually have something on the case back commemorating some more military prestige somehow, or military feel or vibe or codes on there. I just think it could do with a little bit more detail just to take it up a notch, make it feel a little bit more like what it is, and that is a military issue style watch. So give it some more, just a bit. I like the build quality. There's no fluff anywhere, no scruffy bits on the machining, the feel of the winding of the crown, really close. You can't see any imperfections on the hands. The dial, the loom is very consistently applied. The crystal is flat and pushed in the case perfectly and evenly all the way around. AR coating is perfectly applied. The list goes on. You're getting the idea here. For your less than £200, you're getting a very well made watch, which isn't always what you get in the budget sector. And those of us who have a budget watch don't want to always feel like we've got a budget watch. And easy to pop the crown, one pull, and the feel and smoothness of the hands as you wind it round is really nice. And when you get it to the hour, you can see how the hands align perfectly. I always check that because sometimes when you're on the hour and it's quite a few minutes either side of the 12 o'clock, that really bugs me when the hands don't line up. But this lines up very well. I really like this broad arrow they've got here underneath the Baltany. A little bit of nod to that military symbology there. Symbol for military issue in the UK. Really cool. I do like that that's been incorporated in there as a subtle cue, but I would have liked a bit more. And lastly, I just want to go back to these hands, these gorgeous syringe style hands. The fact that they are so beautifully finished. I love the colour. They've got it to look like it works perfectly with a bronze case. It's like they are bronze, but they are not able to patina. So it's a bit of a reminder of what the watch would have originally looked like before age got to it or air got to it. So it just gives that a little bit of interest, dynamic visual shift to what's going on under the dial, to what's going on out here, what is exposed to the elements. And some cool stuff before I finish about bronze. You can accelerate or return patina back to original. There are methods, you can see loads of different ways online of quick and easy ways you can restore the patina back to original finish, so it's back to being nice and glossy and shiny and a brighter finish. But a little trick I've done before, which is more the opposite, is to accelerate the patina, take the strap off, make sure the crown is pushed in, boil an egg, stick them both in some Tupperware, chop the egg up and leave it for a good few hours, sometimes less, sometimes more, depends on the look you want to go for. Take the watch out, give it a wipe down, and you'll notice it's dramatically would have changed colour, darkness, and sometimes it can even start to grow a bit green and furry, which is just bonkers that you've got that lovely look. And if you don't like it, you can always reset it by cleaning it. The case finishing, it's spoilt in a way by it going dark. You can enjoy that again if you give it a restoration, give it a dip or a clean with some correct solution, safely clean your watch and bring it back to being bright and gorgeous again. Or you can let it go old and manky. And I think this watch just looks perfect getting old and manky.